My name is Christopher Williams, and I am the great-great-grandson of Mac and Caroline Saxon, those people right there. And on and off, I've gathered information about the Saxon family for about 20 years now, and I still feel like I will never truly, and nobody can never really truly know the whole story of their family. My research starts with Tom Saxon, who was brought to America by Captain Lewis Saxon. And Captain Saxon was a direct descendant of the Anglo-Saxon warriors and fight from the tribe of Europe, and was instrumental in starting the American Revolution. He was a very prominent figure in this war, and if you Google Hayes Station, he is one of about 6 surviving members of that battle. And that was kind of one of the most bloodiest and sadistic battles that ever took place, because William Bill Cunningham, Bloody Bill Cunningham, the captain at the time that was fighting them, he basically did something that was pretty much cruel and unknown at that time by chopping up a lot of the body parts and dismembering them and throwing them all over the place. So, I mean, he was very lucky to be alive, and since he survived that battle, he was able to purchase my great-great-great-grandfather Tom, which is how our family got our last name Saxon and became the family that we are today. Tom's son, Mac Saxon, and wife Caroline, who were once slaves, would live to be plantation owners. The property that is behind our church, and some of you, I know you've probably seen it, the church itself is off of 385 as you come from Lawrence and go by Fountain Inn in Greenville. It's on the right side. There's like a family life center right next to it. That's Mount Carmel AME Church. And Tom's wife, who was Mary Crosby, who lived in Lawrence, and Caroline's mother, Jane Clark, at the time, that lived on the Saxon plantation, were also a part of this family. And the history that I've written about my book, Black Blue Bloods, focuses on the family line strictly of Tom and Mary and Mac and Caroline, and continues through Ben and Rachel and my grandparents, Clyde and Maggie Saxon, and a little bit beyond. I believe how these two worlds collided is important, because the Anglo-Saxon history that has influenced our family is very important. The Anglo-Saxons, they not only gave us their name, of course they dropped the Anglo part and became Saxons, but they gave us essential skills that we needed to survive in this new world. Being a group of people who influenced art and translated the Bible, they were great believers in education. And they discovered England and created the English language also. Now, the word Saxon, it comes from the West Germanic tribal group that inhabited northern Germany and invaded Britain in the 5th and 6th centuries AD with the Angles and the Juts. And the meaning of Saxon is swordsman, basically, if you look it up. And there are variants in the spelling of this word, such as S-A-X-T-O-N. You've probably seen it a lot, S-E-A-S-E or S-E-X-T-O-N, but we're basically talking about the same tribe of people. But the most common way that people know the Saxons is S-A-X-O-N. Now, the Anglo-Saxons, they migrated from Germany and they ruled England from the 5th through the 11th centuries. Now, the white Saxons are from Germany, and our family, of course, the African-American black Saxons, when we've traced our DNA through a company, came from Egypt, and then we migrated and settled into what is now Nigeria, which wasn't Nigeria at the time, and before coming to America. And since we're a part of, and if you ever do DNA testing or anything like that, you probably run across a word called haplogroup. We're EM2, and what that means is that it goes back way far to the time period of Ramses III, and also Nelson Mandela is a part of this tribe also. The family of Captain Lewis Saxon had a very, well, some say it was a very close relationship with King William III and Queen Mary II. It's kind of debatable because even though they were granted 2,024 acres of land in New Kent, Virginia from the Crown, it's debatable because they really didn't have like a personal relationship with them per se. Some of the land, of course, they had a financial relationship, but not a personal, like, I know you, you're my buddy, or whatever type relationship going on. So the white Saxons and Mac Saxons, basically, for some reason, they were exposed to some of the same opportunities during the Reconstruction period in the South, which included raising cotton, sugarcane, making clothing and shoes, raising catfish, brim, and carp, along with livestock and apples. And it's been widely documented since I've uncovered a lot of this history. And a lot of it, you know, you really have to talk to people. You can't expect people to just tell you stuff that has gone on in the past. But after talking with people, I've been able to dig up documents in the state newspaper about my great-great-grandfather's fairground that he owned in the Mount Carmel area. It basically, like I said, it's just a fairground, and it had horse racing track, and that's one of the reasons why I use the horse a lot. And that horse, that was the name of a horse that was in his will when he left his papers behind in the courthouse. That is still there today, that you can go and look at in the Lawrence courthouse. He also owned over 700 acres of land, and the family gave 4 acres to start one of the first Julius Rosenwald schools in Great Court, South Carolina. All of this would not have been possible, though, if it wasn't for the bipartisanship. It wouldn't have been possible without the help of another man. He was a white man, and his name was Lewis D. Power. And Mr. Power agreed to sell Mac his first 125 acres of the 700-acre plantation that he will own. Now, this happened in December 28, 1876, and he was able to buy this for $575. Now, I guess what stands out about that is, you know, Mac, he was only 33 years old at the time. And also the fact that during that time period, a lot of African Americans, you know, didn't even think about owning land, couldn't own land. And if they did, it could be easily taken from them. Or if, you know, this type of transaction occurred, they could be killed, you know, especially in Lawrence County where we were. So, like I said, it's a remarkable thing. And during this time, for such a thing to happen, it just wasn't commonplace. But altogether, Mac and Caroline had 16 children. When some became old enough, they were given duties on a plantation, of course. And one thing I've learned in, you know, researching this history, it was, for some reason, always, well, I know the reason, it was always great to have more boys or have a, you know, a good bit of boys and girls, because you wanted as many of them as you could get to work the farm and that type of thing. And that's one of the reasons why my grandparents were able to buy the 100 acres that we have, because they needed manpower pretty much. They had 5 boys pretty much. So now Caroline's mother who was Jane Clark. She helped raise the family on occasion. I thought it was kind of odd because, you know, being a mother-in-law living with, you know, your son-in-law back then, I always wondered what the dynamics were like, because now it's something. But he lived to be about 71 from 1843 to 1915, and Caroline lived from 1845 to 1910. And they were married in their 20s, about mid-20s at 1866, January 5th of 1866. And, okay, let's see. I wanted to know not only the story of our family, but I thought in compiling this history, it was a good idea to try to get the story of both families, because really, without both sides of it, it's really incomplete to me. Now, this is the deed that I found in Lawrence County Courthouse, and basically this started kind of like a chain of events in my mind, because it wasn't just this deed for the 125 acres. I kept looking and looking, and there were a bunch of other deeds as well. And after looking and inquiring, you know, I started putting it together in my mind that he must have, you know, been a person of, you know, substance or something, because, you know, to many people back then, and a lot of people now don't have 700 acres. And that's what kind of like got, I guess, me addicted to this whole process, as Ms. Butler would say. And go ahead with the next one. Okay, and then, of course, you want to compile everything. The cheapest thing for me was to save everything to a USB drive. And I suggest making at least 6 copies, having 6 different USB drives, because I don't know, I'm just, I guess, kind of scary that something might have happened. So that's what I do. And you want to protect your information either through copyright or Writers Guild of America, or you might want to consider a trademark. You definitely want to get someone to edit your work. Now, I've used Ms. Barbara Ramirez out of the Clemson University Communications Department, but not for this book, but I've worked with her before. I'm suggesting her, but of course you can use whoever you want to. And the next slide. Okay, that's John F. Kennedy, and that's my cousin on the end. This is one of the places that it's taken me to, which is the Boston Library. And basically, my cousin, he was in Barksdale, and they still have their place by where the Saxons have their place. He was friends with JFK. That was taken 3 days before he was assassinated. There was an NEA conference. He was the president of the African American division of the conference. I can't think of the name of it, but they merged, and now they're the NEA. And go ahead, could you do the next slide? Okay, that's him right there. He always had to have a seat in the front row next to Kennedy. And you know, he was kind of friends with Kennedy and his brothers, and I don't know who else, but that's all that his daughter has told me so far. And but he's from Spartanburg, by the way. Well, he lived in Spartanburg, state representative. But go ahead. Now, this shot, I got this from my friend, Miss Linda Finley, who is the 3rd cousin of Lewis Power that sold my great-grandfather the first 125 acres. This is a sawmill, and these are guys, I have no idea what their names are, but it could be part of that same family, but that's in Power Shop, which is now Owens, South Carolina. The man that sold Mac the property, he owned the town of Owens at one time, his family. And go ahead with the next one. Okay, this is the Julius Rosenwald School. I believe that tree is probably still there, but the school isn't, it burned down, and you can read about it in the book. That's the first of the schools that the Saxons built, or helped build. Well, the second one they built, this one they helped build, because Julius Rosenwald gave them, I think, like $1,000. They gave them 4 acres, and then the community had to match funds to finish the building of the school. But that's the one that, if you ever go to Mount Carmel, there's a piece of land that's like right on the side, kind of cleared out bush hog area. That's where the school used to sit. And go ahead with the next one. Okay, that's Mount Carmel Indian Church. Any of y'all recognize it? Okay, you recognize it. Okay. Okay. That's the church. And it's been there, well, as you can see, like this part right that comes from up right here, that's kind of like the new part. What goes back up into the kitchen is the original part that was built, I believe it's the early or the late 1800s. And this is a, well, you know, that white block is a cornerstone that has Mac's name on it and everything. And it's, I'm trying to think. And of course the life cycle is pretty new, but it started out pretty much in his kitchen in the 1870s, and it grew into that. So go ahead. Now this is the video I was getting ready to tell you about. I'll explain it. Okay, what you see, the white part, that's chalky. It's good to get, you can buy what they call play school chalk from the dollar store. And that's how we were able to read those inscriptions, pretty much. Just chalked it out, and it comes up pretty good. And this will play about like 3 more minutes, but of course that one is split, that particular tune. And
what were the inscriptions that you were trying to read from this?
well, it normally is going to have like their name, their birthday, and it'll say something like, just off the top of my head, something like beloved soldier of the American Revolution, or you know, something of that nature. It just varies. Now, the one with Lewis Saxon, Captain Lewis Saxon, he didn't hardly have anything on his, and I was joking to the guy on the video that he was probably a man of few words, so, you know, but as you can see, this is deep in the woods. I'm surprised that we didn't run across any snakes that day, because it really wasn't, you know, too cold. And that grave right there, let's see, did it stop on? Okay. That's the one across from there, that's the one of Lewis Saxon. I mean, yes, Lewis Saxon, Captain Lewis Saxon. And as I talk about in the book, this was kind of a heart trip in a way, because, you know, my family got a call about 2 or 3 days earlier from Charleston, and of course, that was the day that they had the Charleston massacre. And I kind of like started not to go on the trip, but I said, no, I planned this already. You know, the guide is with me and everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. But I'm glad I went ahead and did it, because I think, like I said, it really brought some things, you know, full circle for my family and for my entire life, you know. So, and part of it has this whole thing that has inspired us to have our first family reunion that we hadn't had in about 20 years. So that was a good thing. I would say, I don't know if I've said this before, Ancestry.com, the courthouse, newspaper archives, and libraries, and online, and necessary trips to visit relatives and places that are relevant to your own history. Those are definitely places you want to start and, doing your research. Also, reach out to DNA companies as well. Thanks a lot.